Hi, my name is Kelly Hood, and I'm a cybersecurity engineer at Optic Cyber Solutions. Last week, on January 15th, the Federal Acquisition Regulation Controlled Unclassified Information Proposed Rule was released for public comment. So I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about it today. Why do we care, you might ask? Because this rule will officially codify the requirements and expectations for protecting controlled and classified information, or CUI, for contractors supporting the entire federal government. I know there's been a lot of conversation over the last few years about CMMC, which is focused on DoD contractors, but this is looking at the entire federal government now. So why is the government doing this? Federal information and information systems are increasingly being the targets of attack, and we're losing a ton of sensitive federal information to criminals and adversaries. So this is one piece of a larger government strategy to identify, deter, protect against, detect, and respond to these attacks that are targeting our information and information systems. So this will hope to enhance protections of that sensitive federal information and standardize the management of the CUI across federal contracts. So what does this mean? This federal rule now requires all federal contractors to protect the CUI they have, that they're storing, processing, or transmitting on behalf of the government. They're required to meet the NIST SB 800-171 Rev 2 controls to protect CUI on their non-federal systems. They may also be required to meet enhanced security requirements from SB 800-172 for specific high-value assets. This may sound familiar, as these are also the control sets used in CMMC for the DoD, but remember, this now is applicable more broadly to the entire federal government. Additionally, there's going to be training requirements for proper handling procedures of CUI and requirements to report suspected or confirmed CUI incidents to the government within 8 hours of discovery. So that will be interesting as we tease out how that will happen. Additionally, it will have flow down requirements. So any subcontractors that are handling or processing or storing CUI on behalf of a prime, on behalf of the government, will also need to meet these requirements. So how do I know if this applies to me? Well, the first question is, do you store, process, or transmit CUI on behalf of the federal government? Then that answer is yes. But maybe you don't know. If you don't know, one of the things that this rule is including is a new standard form, or SF. XXX is what they've deemed it now, since they don't have a formal name for it yet, or a number. This is a form that is going to help tell you if you have controlled and classified information. So this is a huge win for the federal government and the contractors, that now we're going to have a mechanism of being communicated with on whether or not we have this CUI. That's one of the biggest problems the DoD has been working through over the last few years, is knowing what is CUI, do we have it, where it is. So hopefully this form as it comes out will help us to better understand that. It'll identify where what CUI is, where you need to report incidents, describe any specific agency needs, and it will be included with that solicitation. So right now it's expected to be about a 14-page document, and it will help us answer a lot of questions. So if you do have CUI, what is actually going to be expected of federal contractors? We know we need to use NIST SB 800-171 Rev 2 and meet those controls, but are they going to check up on us? Good question. Right now, what we're seeing is that you will need to provide support, your documentation if requested. So they may want to see your system security plan, your training records, your incident reports, or other types of documents. But we don't know exactly how that's going to play out. They also have the ability to do an assessment if they want to. Again, this is not necessarily blanket across the board, but if requested, you will need to allow them to access your systems, facilities, personnel in order to support a validation assessment. What you will definitely need to do is report incidents. Again, that incident reporting window is within 8 hours of discovery for an incident or a suspected incident. So that is a tight window, but the incident reporting requirement is across the board. The providing documentation and the validation assessments are up in the air as to who will need to do this, and it will come down to the government to decide when and if they're going to enact those requirements. So what's next and how fast do we need to take action? I want to remind you that this is a proposed rule. So it's currently out for public comment and all comments are due on March 17th, 2025. Once the government receives all of the public comments, they'll adjudicate those and work to create the final rule. This process is expected to take about a year. So we really don't expect the final rule out sooner than Q1, Q2 of 2026. Once final though, contractors will be expected to meet the FAR CUI requirements. So everything we've talked about will be expected. There's no phased rollout being discussed. So once that rule is final, that's when we will need to have those in place. So we'll have to see how fast they're able to move through that process. So if you want to take a deeper dive into the FAR CUI proposed rule, I've linked it here. I've also provided some templates and references on Optic Cyber Solutions website, where we have a 171 Rev 2 template where you can start capturing what you're doing today, and to NIST for the actual special publications. So I hope this has been helpful to kind of orient you to what this new proposed rule is, who it applies to, why we care, what we need to do about it. But if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out at info@opticcyber.com or leave a comment for any additional videos you'd like to see. Again, my name is Kelly Hood, and I hope this video has been helpful. Thanks. Optic Cyber Solutions strives to help organizations identify and address their blind spots through our assessment, implementation, and advising services. For more information about Optic Cyber Solutions and our services, reach out at info@opticcyber.com or check out our website at opticcyber.com.